So, in past years, when we did solar phase 1 and 2, our understanding, and from our last meeting as well, was that, or from the public hearing night, was that this item was also referred to finance. It has not been referred to finance. It's not necessary. It is at the discretion of the president, and it is not necessary. And I understand, Councilor Laredo, because told me that you talked to Clerk Olson, and he said that we have to refer it at a full council meeting. That would put this out several more weeks. So, it's not a financial matter in one way, in that our job is to authorize the city to enter into lease negotiations. We're not having any say over the particulars of the lease necessarily.
So it's not my intent to refer this.
Terrific. Okay.
Because I'll state, let me just state very clearly why. This is really, the leases themselves are a financial issue. The decision as to where to site solar panels and carports is not a financial issue, number one. Number two, I don't frankly think that a finance debate on this topic is going to elucidate anything here. I think we've had a lot of debate, whatever people's individual views are, they are. We will have certainly some vigorous debate on certain items at the floor. We all expect that, and that's fine. I do think we may see a motion, and I would be, I think it's appropriate, at least for us to consider it, the idea that the actual leases have to be at least submitted to us for some kind of review, that the approval would be subject to our review of the leases themselves. And I think that would give us the exercise of financial control that would be, it seems to me, warranted, but that's a topic for debate at the full council. Whether that amendment's offered or not, whether people think it's appropriate or not, that'll be debated then.
So you're saying we have the opportunity to do that, whether or not we think that's
It's up to the will of the council.
We haven't done that before, but. Yeah.
Right, but it's been referred to finance before, and you're not doing that here, and so the idea is, let's try to move this along quickly.
Thank you.
But understand that at least some folks, I share this, we want to see what the leases look like. The other thing I want to note for the record is, next full council meeting is a school vacation week. I know we're going to have at least one, maybe more councilors absent. And I would just consider the idea if there's something that's particularly controversial, that we try to hold that to a full complement of councils. I'll know better who's missing in the next few
Okay.
days.
Put one more element on the table, although Mr. Chairman might be saying this as well, is that one primary reason for time sensitivity here is that we want to get the school projects out the door. Anything that might interfere with school operations needs to get a shovel in the ground in June.
It's really important we do any canopies at schools in the summer.
Okay.
We did south in the fall last year. It was very difficult.
No, I don't think anybody wants to interfere with school operations.
Right.
I'm just putting that out there so we're all alert to timing. I do want to make sure that councilors have an opportunity on particularly controversial projects that we have a full complement of people.
Okay.
We do have the lease nearly complete. Chad and I and Alan put, I think, most of the finishing touches on it Monday, I guess it was, on a conference call. So,
The lease that's been fully negotiated, or the lease that we want?
It's a draft at this point for us.
That we want.
Yes.
well, it's a lease that's been negotiated between the city and the vendors, but it's not a signed lease.
But the terms agreed upon that are in these two leases agreed upon by the vendors?
No, they're not, we haven't,
I'm just trying to understand.
yeah,
where we are in the
I'm just trying to
process.
understand, make sure I understand your question. We've been going back and forth between the city and the vendors, and we're coming close to agreement on every item in that lease. It's not signed yet, it's not ready for signature, but as far as our team is concerned, it's pretty much there, you know?
We would be, just regarding your possible suggestion of the full council, we would be available, we would be fine with sharing it with the council for a review, whatever,
I mean,
as you feel is appropriate.
Well, it's not gonna be my decision.
Well, the full
it's
council.
council's decision.
It's not too late to review it. I'm just saying that we're gonna have a document that we're satisfied with from the city side and that the vendors are satisfied with. And if
Well,
there
we
are
have
other,
that in advance of the full, we think that'll be ready, I'm sorry,
Finish.
do you think that'll be ready in advance of the full council meeting, a week from Tuesday?
I think so, Chad, don't you? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, if it
the
can be. Pardon?
the last turn of the document required very few revisions from the city's legal department. So,
And the both, there's two vendors here, both are satisfied? If it could be in our packets, you know, and online by, you know, Friday, before the meeting, that would be helpful, it may alleviate the issue.
We'll also, if we vote this out of committee tonight, I hope we do, each one is gonna be a separate council.
I'm just trying to be conscious.
No, I understand, I wanna take up these process items first,
I want
so
to,
that we
I want to
don't.
move this, like, if there's gonna be a request to review the contract, we have the contract already, people have read it, we have no issues, maybe we don't need a motion at all.
Understand. No, I think it would be great to have that off.
So you would want it for a week from Friday?
The quicker you can get it to the council, the better, because that way, if individual councils have questions about the lease terms, they can give you a call, Mr. Ferguson, or the CEO, and they can explain it to them, and maybe that'll alleviate it.
My understanding is it's not gonna be enormously different from the one we have read already. from
Very
2016.
similar, very
Okay.
similar to what we've entered into for phase one and phase two.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right,
And that'll make it easier.
that will make it
easier.
very
And-
simple.
And, you know, it might be helpful, Ms. Ferguson, if, I'm sorry, where there are differences between from what we've done previously, that they can either highlight or identify for us, so that we can focus our attention on things, and, you know, if something's been vendor ready, probably doesn't need to be vetted again.
Okay, so, may I assume that everyone has, gone through all of the questions and answers that have been carefully prepared by the administration to the 34 questions? So,
I'd also add to that, Chairman Crossley. I did provide for this packet, a project update as well as answers to additional questions that came in. So,
okay,
this was the,
advance to a page.
yeah, it's in your packet, it's the first page on solar.
Okay.
So it says solar phase 3 project updates, update in response to additional questions February 1st. Okay, so this was out on Friday. So this provided a project update. I'll very quickly go through these. You already mentioned the Auburndale Cove for this phase, solar phase 3. That's been pulled from consideration. We have been included some information on color options as well, to really move away from any kind of steel shaded industrial look. We also did find the library parking lot canopies that were from several years ago, where white canopies were mixed with brick bases to match the white paint in the brick face of the library. So that is a possibility that we can move forward as well. I think it's clear, I just want to very clearly mention that canopies are 3/4 of the electricity generated from solar phase 3. So the canopies for us are really the most important part of solar phase 3. And they're really the backbone and really critical for us to move forward on implementing climate action in this city. And a couple other things, I answered several questions. I can you have further questions on some of these, additional questions I answered on the library parking lot. I gave you a fairly detailed response on that. Councilor Gentile asked about the trustees, and yes, they did approve this with some conditions which we're going to certainly abide by as well. So I'm available for additional questions at this time.
Okay, Councilor Danforth.
There's a photograph right here
Yeah.
that shows the 2016 library canopies
Yes.
with brick bases.
Yeah.
And it looks like the lattice work, the cross patches are white. Is that the case, or do they just look white
Yeah,
here?
and,
Because you
yeah.
there are a number of color options that are here.
Yes.
And I wondered if white has again been chosen, is it for, because it matches something on the building, or is it because it was decided that we didn't want it to blend in a little bit more to the background? If it were a darker color, it would blend in a bit more. What was the reason that white,
I believe
you thought white was the best
2-3 years
color?
ago, the decision was that the library is painted white, the spire
Right,
and
yep.
some of
And
the
the
trim
columns.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
the
it is.
columns are painted white. So that, along with the brick siding of the library, went with the base. So,
All right.
you know, from our perspective, you know, the color, I don't think there's really a cost difference on the color options. It's already, it comes already painted and impregnated with this polyurethane, and so we can go with different options here. But many folks don't want something that really looks more industrial as opposed to like a steel color.
No matter what color we paint.
I know, there's, you know, people don't, you know,
Yeah,
people like the color.
there will be objections.
Right.
Can I make a suggestion, Madam Chair, that we have, we try to perhaps take up the less controversial items
Absolutely.
and try to move those along and pass those through, and then
I want to do that, but I want to make sure that any general questions.
I have questions about the library, but I'm gonna wait.
No, I understand. I think the point here was to talk about the fact that we have aesthetic options anywhere. I mean, these paint colors come back, they're factory finishes, and we can use them anywhere. So when we get to the canopy sites, I do intend to take the rooftop sites up first, and then go through the other sites. My question about, you know, have people gone through all of this material to their satisfaction, though, really is we've had a whole lot of questions that really pertains to the lease agreements, contract with the city. There were questions that came from people, maybe not as much from folks on this committee, but came from others on the council, from folks who weren't here during phase 1 and phase 2, and know what some of the rules are. If there's any question like that that's still outstanding for anyone here,
Well, I do have one question.
okay, go ahead.
So, I think we talked about last time that the reference in the lease was talking about maintaining the system, but did not talk about maintaining the physical structure of any content. And you will address that in the lease.
Certainly can.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to remember if Chad might remember if we actually have language in there to maintain, I guess, the steel basically and all the other.
Yes, the way the system is defined, it includes the structure that holds the system.
I didn't,
So, yes.
I must say, when I read that, I didn't read that one. I read that the function of the system needs to work. That's what I read, but nothing about aesthetics or
We
anything.
We can definitely make sure
And,
that's,
I think you just need to
Yep.
make that clear.
So in other words, if the paint starts to degrade, does it?
Put it on a Pleasant Street parking lot, the paint degrades completely, and it's all rust color. I don't think we have an obligation to
Okay.
make that fix.
So we can make that.
Yeah, good
specific.
point, we'll make sure that's.
Okay.
No, that's a good point.
Certainly the
If it's not
intent.
clear, we definitely want that.
Yeah.
is the intent, but well, let's make it really clear. Thank you.
Yeah, okay, good. Any other questions like that? Fine. How about we go through the sites, beginning with the rooftop sites. The rooftop sites include, and I don't know if we can take them all together and ask questions about individual sites as we may have them,
I
and
think
then
you
vote
can,
them one at a time?
do you feel like we need to vote the sites one at a time? I would
Okay.
suggest respectfully, you could, the
Okay.
rooftops, I don't think you're gonna have any opposition, someone can always vote to.
Okay. And we have 8 rooftop sites. Ed Center, Fire Station 3, Service, FA Day, Ainger, Cabot Gym, Car School, and Williams. In my memory from reading these materials from the public hearing and so forth, the only controversial issue has been eliminated, which was there were a
Correct.
couple of trees that Mark Welch made very clear to us last time. You made clear that they were taken off, but they were not pruning them.
At Williams and at Ainger.
And at Nature.
Correct.
That the shading is gonna have a minor impact on the production. Just for the record, he did make very clear though that they were gonna use industry standards to prune the crown of the tree. It wasn't about taking off the top.
Correct.
However, we're not going to do that in any case. So there are no, I don't believe there are any other outstanding issues on any of these, that anybody raised. Am I right about that?
Based on all of the comments we've had, those are the only 2 sites that have any issues.
In that case, I move to approve the rooftop sites. Okay.
You get the next one.
Okay, all right, so, we have a motion, all in favor, it's 4-0, I'm sorry it's not 8-0, but, you know,
No, thank you.
we lost some of our people here tonight. Okay, then we have now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9 canopy sites, once we eliminate the Auburndale code. Read them out.
You're
Let me-
8, because they can vote on that.
Oh, I see that, I didn't see
now.
that one.
See,
Okay. I'm still not seeing
Yeah,
it.
Brown Memorial, Newport, the library, Oak Hill, Ed Center, Mason Rose Pleasant Street.
There are 2 sides in there.
This is an updated list? Okay.
So 2 sites, is north of 2 sites essentially?
Yeah, it's one school, but it's
Yes.
Wilmot and
Then you're
Kendall.
9, that's your,
Okay.
9.
So, Ed Center, Oak Hill, Memorial Spalding, Pleasant Street, Mason Rice, 2 at North, Brown, and the library. So, my memory is that there's several of them that have little or no controversial, people we're not concerned about. I think there was one person who didn't like the look of it, who lived across from the Ed Center. The Oak Hill parking lot, I don't recall, but that there was.
Oak Hill parking lot is one that shades part of the park. That's the issue.
Okay, so let's get to that question, because
Yes,
I know
we
there
did resolve
was
that. It's
some
not,
clarifying
it's not on the
information.
park. We did look very closely at the assessing lines in terms of where the park property was and where the school property was. I will say that Bob DeRubis was relieved when we looked very closely at where the canopy goes up towards the pathway that goes back up the little hill from the soccer field there. And the canopy goes up, it's right up, the edge of it goes right up to the edge of the pathway there. And that is school property. So you have to go pretty far down the hill to where you get to where the beginning of parkland is. So there won't be shading and there won't be the issues with respect to the canopy.
Yeah, if that's,
Yeah.
Of course.
so just so I want to be clear,
Yeah.
this is very helpful. So
Yeah.
the shading is only on school property?
Correct.
There may be some grass that is shaded or not?
On on the school
On the
property.
school
Yeah,
property.
yeah.
And what if anything's going to be done to
So-
mitigate that or deal with that, since you're.
If we notice any changes, we would certainly, put in whatever kind of grass seed is appropriate for that kind of condition. Mark Welsh isn't here to mention that, but we have discussed that. For the most part, given that the sun's angle varies during the time of the day, whatever's underneath canopies is still gonna be getting sun. It just might be getting a few hours less sun than it
Wherever
normally
a
would.
canopy it is, but that
Exactly.
portion, I presume,
Yeah.
is getting sun because it's the edge.
Correct, yeah, so,
And again, it's school property, not park.
correct,
recreation.
and we looked through the literature, we did not see any history about this type of situation, but certainly if it came up, and the grass disappeared from underneath there, we would figure out what, to do in terms of different types of grass seed or different types of plantings in that regard, so.
Would it be appropriate, Madam Chair, to put something in order for that, requiring that be part of the condition?
Evaluated over
Yes, in
time.
fact, there's a general condition, speaking of conditions, that I think we want to apply to all of this, and we've talked with the administration already about that. So it is absolutely appropriate to add conditions to any one of these. As a group, the same would apply to rooftops as, for the condition I'm thinking of. In this particular one, if you want a condition maintaining of planting, appropriate plantings in semi-shaded conditions, something like that.
Something like that. I'll leave it to you to wordsmith it, but the idea is that the grass area, we preserve the grass, we don't let it become a dirt patch or concrete.
Right, right.
We agree.
The other condition, I'm glad you brought that up. We talked about making sure that all of the, whether it's direct energy, whether we're directing the energy to a building, which
Behind
you
the
said you're
meter.
doing behind the meter situation, which you're doing for most of these.
Yes.
Yeah, almost
now?
all of them now. Yeah.
Okay, or whether it's a credit, situation where we earn credits that for, so all the ones that we just passed on rooftops, they're all going right into.
They're all
the-
behind the meter.
And
yes.
all the canopies remaining will be except one, the Pleasant Street lot, yeah.
So you want to condition that as part of our order, that it be direct?
No, not that it be direct, but rather that when it's not a direct feed into the building, when it's not a behind, what you call a behind the meter condition, that the credits go to the municipality
As opposed to.
giving them away unless there's, it comes back to the council for
Agreed.
consideration,
Agreed.
okay?
So that deals with the situation we had last time.
Correct. Yeah, I wanna make sure
We
that.
agree with
Okay, great, so we'll see that condition in our council order. Welcome, we are joined by Councilor, Nora, you just missed the vote on.
I am so
rooftop solar.
sorry.
We know how you were gonna vote.
I had a meeting correspondent, that.
For nothing. Good. Okay, so we're talking about the canopies, we were just talking about the Oak Hill canopy project. We understand now that the siting of the canopies and their structure are along a pathway on the school property and not on the parkland. So that eliminates concern about that particular site. Does anyone have any concern of this kind of, oh, go ahead.
Yes,
Yeah.
on the Pleasant Street parking lot, canopies, there is a neighbor who is across the street, from the canopies, who is concerned that, they would be unsightly. And is it my understanding that at least two significant trees that are there in the berm are gonna remain there?
Correct.
And-
Yes.
Okay,
The two on the Pleasant Street side,
yes.
those
on the
trees
Pleasant
are
Street.
remaining.
The trees are remaining. Is there a possibility of planting any more trees on Pleasant Street? Is there room for any more trees? And if there
Question.
is, I'd like to condition it on planting more trees.
We could certainly go and look. One thing I did want to make clear on that site, because we have talked to the individual who I think owns some of the properties,
Yes.
lives in Woburn, but
Yes.
owns some of the properties there. images that we showed, back in December of the Pleasant Street lot and in January were of assuming a higher canopy. Remember how, some of the canopies are gonna be lower than the other ones?
Right.
That was assuming a higher canopy there. As it turns out, the ones at Pleasant Street are lower, which I think is really good. They're
Yes.
actually several feet lower for Pleasant Street. I did get our friends to create some new, can I just show those to you real
Please.
quickly? Because we do have new images of that. Okay, so we go.
See, that picture right there shows a nice,
Yeah.
a nice
Yeah.
screen.
Yeah, the trees, these trees on Pleasant Street are staying. There's 2 trees over there. We had originally thought of trimming those or removing those, but
Yeah,
we
we
brought
have
this back.
We know we have an entrance and an exit,
Yeah.
obviously.
Yeah,
those-
Pleasant and Pelham, I
Yeah,
believe,
but if
yeah.
we could screen that a bit better, it would be much.
You can certainly look, I don't,
Yeah.
without Mark being here and having the details, we did, these are lower than what we had shown before, which I think from a second floor or whatever, it gives a different sight line.
Yes, it does.
And it's
What-
closer to the cars
What's
and
the
the
height?
people, so.
What I
These are
will ask,
9.5 to 14 as opposed to 14 to 20 or
20,
whatever, it was
yeah.
the taller
what
one.
I will ask is that, we condition it on adding as many trees, if any trees can be added, please add the maximum number of trees in there, to screen it. Based, at the discretion of Mark Welch.
Okay, your shovel off.
Councilor
Can I
Mark?
suggest we vote the Oak Hill one first and try to move those, if we're gonna move them along, we can move them from one to the other? It's up to you.
We didn't do the Ed Center either, so I actually had the Ed Center first. then
I was just
then
gonna suggest we try to vote them as we go along,
Yes.
we get it locked in and
Okay.
then move forward.
That's a good idea. I just want to hold on to this notion, though, that we are considering a condition on the Pleasant Street lot for additional plantings
If
or
possible.
trees. So it could be.
On the Pleasant Street
Okay,
corner.
I just want to are we generally okay with that?
Well, I would actually suggest we try to be, if you're able to, between now and the full council meeting, to put some parameters on that, what that would look like, and so we can have some more exact phraseology.
We'll get Mark out and.
If it's not possible, it's not possible, but, Mark will,
But I think I think the council should know that if we can before the meeting, and what that would look like, a tree, 2 trees, 3 trees, whatever.
yeah.
So we have
Would
a second.
an evergreen tree be appropriate, or?
I don't know what the size of the burn is
I-
for those
I'm
who
not
are
an expert.
planting.
Okay,
you
just,
know.
because I
Mark
think
would
that's
have to-
normally
Yeah,
what
I
gives
think
you the
Mark's
best
keen on the
screening.
evergreens on the.
I think I talked to Mr. Welsh and
We
see
will.
what he has to say.
We will definitely do that.
I mean, if it's a big wide berm and you can do underplanting, that's gonna provide more of a screening for a neighbor at the ground level than a tree, actually, which is
Right.
gonna be undercut. And
I'm
then
gonna
the
let
other
him-
thing is, you know, cars going in and out, or we don't wanna obscure views and make an
That's
unsafe
That's sight
situation.
lines, too.
So I'm gonna leave that up to him.
Okay,
But while we get the information, and then we will provide it in the draft board order.
okay. Can we go, let's go back up to the top, so that we can, I agree with you, let's do these one at a time. The Education Center parking lot,
Would you want
That
to do
was-
Oak Hill first and vote?
well, okay, Ed Center's at the top of my list, but okay, fine, it doesn't matter to me. Oak Hill parking lot. We have a condition that's yet to be worded, but has something, it's gonna be something along the lines of, maintaining appropriate plantings for the new trees in addition.
Your landscape
Yeah.
architect.
Yes. Well, I gotta do it without her. We got some wording like that, we'll get that in there.
Absolutely.
With, as conditioned, I suppose, do I have a motion from Councilor Leary, all in favor? 5-0, thank you. Okay, Ed Center.
proposals of all, but,
Can I ask
anybody?
a question?
Yes, sir.
Could you just refresh our memory, I mean, I know the Ed Center pretty well, but just remind me, where in the center, is located, do you have a picture? of
Yeah,
it?
let me-
On the uphill
Yeah.
lot.
Down the center
I
of
just
the
wanna,
lot.
I just wanna make sure
Yeah.
that all on the same.
Let's see, is it gonna be, it's Macquarie, right?
Yeah.
Is it the first one?
Um,
Is it in the first one or the second one? All right, there's only one way to
I
find out.
think that might be it.
Ranger, Cabot, Williams.
That's it.
Oh,
There's-
oh,
Center.
here we go.
There you go.
So it's one long strip down the middle, of the parking lot there, no tree impact, so it's right down the middle.
So we're not, just, again, for the record, we're not putting it right next to the street.
We are not,
We're not impeding anybody's views.
right,
We're putting it in what's otherwise a parking lot with nothing else.
right,
And this is one of the lower canopies, correct?
yes,
Okay.
this
So
is one of
nine and a
our.
half.
Fine.
Okay,
Okay.
okay, I have a motion to approve from Councilor Larry, all in favor? Nothing, here we go. Now we're on a roll, all right. Memorial Spalding. Do we want to put a picture up for each one as we go?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Oh, we got lucky here. Okay. So this is one where it is in 3 different sections of the parking lot. The middle part, this row right here, and then this row along the edge. I believe there is 2 small, is it 2
There's
small
one
trees?
tree.
One tree we're gonna move,
Right
one,
here.
there's a tiny tree here we're
Tiny
gonna
tree.
move somewhere.
It's about
Oh, yeah,
this tall.
yeah, I think we're moving one tree will be cut, we're gonna plant some other additional trees. There's quite a few planting spots right here, so.
What,
one
Matt,
spot.
Go ahead.
so what screening are we putting along the entranceway there, as you go into the parking lot, if anything? And it may not be feasible because of sightlines, so I'm just trying to find out what you're doing.
Yeah, I don't know the aspect of the sun in terms of where, that's. looking
South is on the
south,
bottom.
so-
North is north is up, right?
Yeah, so, whether, I don't know what we could put over here. I think you have, the residents over here, I've certainly stood over here many times. I think we have some opportunities over here. See, right now, it's just this parking lot, grass, and then this parking lot in the school,
So-
back here.
Lower left of the parking lot, the berm there looks quite generous. So
Down in here.
it bleeds off the image, but, off the paper,
Yeah,
but it looks quite generous. Certainly, we're gonna be needing to replant caliber inches of trees.
right.
So-
As you drive up the street, we could have plantings here.
I mean, if for no other reason than if we didn't put a solar arrays there, you'd
Yeah.
still want some screening from the parking lot
Okay.
anyways.
Why don't we add that to the list of things we will look at?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So we'll just condition this upon a planting plan for the,
okay.
berm and grassy areas, at the back of the sidewalk. Okay? So condition, do I have a motion to approve this project?
That's your word.
No, I'm not wording, it's Cheryl's work.
Yeah, you're 7.
I'm gonna close
You
it.
have Mark's month.
Yeah.
All right, we have a motion to approve from Mark Laredo. All in favor, as conditioned? 5-0. Great.
What's next?
Pleasant Street lot, we discussed. I think we already have a condition for that lot, to, again,
Can I just see the, man?
yes.
So can we just see the picture for Pleasant Street again?
Do you have a plan here of it?
Yes, we do.
So again, here, the canopy is only in the middle
Correct.
portion of it, not, not next to any of butter, because there's a butters in the fenced area behind, and not immediately adjacent to the stores.
So did you have a plan view?
Yeah.
That'd be helpful, I think. And this will be a similar condition in terms of exploring opportunities for planting.
This is
appropriate
the old,
plantings
yeah,
at the
okay, so this is
school.
after, so it's right down the middle here.
Doesn't look like there's a lot of room to plant in the plan view. With the two trees already there.
Well, we can't, I think, you mean up here?
Oh, I thought we were
Down
down
below.
below. I thought we were at the bottom.
Yeah, we're removing the trees from the bottom. Yeah.
Oh, you
Two-
are removing trees. from
That's
the bottom.
that's the Pelham Street side, the
Yes.
Pleasant Street side,
You're
we are
keeping the
not,
trees.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the south side, yeah.
And we have trees on the.
This is, this over here is not residence, it's another parking lot.
Right.
over here, yeah.
Right.
And we're not putting anything in that parking
No.
lot.
Okay.
So Pleasant Street is at the top of the
Yes,
picture, and those three stay.
yeah, these trees are staying.
And there's, if I remember correctly, there's a fair amount of screening along the fence to the left.
Yes,
here.
there is. There's quite a bit of nice big trees along here with these two houses. This is the side of these two houses.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve as conditioned?
I'll move approval as condition.
Counselor Danver, all in favor? Aye, nothing. Thank you. Mason Rice,
That's me again.
okay.
Could we look at that? Yeah.
Okay, so this is two locations, one in the middle of the parking lot here with one tree removed, and we're gonna plant, Mark has found several places right out here along the street for new plantings. And then one canopy here, that originally, I think we were gonna cut this tree, we decided this is quite a nice tree, we didn't need to cut this. We shortened this here, and there's a couple small things here that will be cut as part of this one being installed. So there's two here, lots of sites for planting of trees all around, this parking lot, in the front of the school.
The plan is to plant 29 trees.
Could you tell us where?
So Mark identified a number of places right here to join these small trees that are already planted out here. I think the schools, the students planted some trees here a few years ago. There's several sites along the edge. You don't want to go into the aqueduct, but then the whole park is back in here. He said there's many different places to plant trees in the park that would be appropriate.
And, just so we're clear, this is, of course, all school property, we're not infringing any of the
Correct.
land area, no shadows in any of the land.
No.
I'll move approval.
Okay.
I would just ask that we could, I mean, I know you're planting, but I'd like to have a condition that the planting be done.
Yes.
Okay.
You said you're doing it anyway, so it's just.
It's in the plan.
So, the condition is that the planting be
Well, I
done
think
in
that.
a particular
in-
place.
In accordance with what the recommendation is, something, I just wanna make it clear that
Right.
the expectation as part of this order is that they're gonna do the work, not just that we've been told.
Agreed.
That's also going to be in our PPA, the requirement to plant trees, replace trees, with equal diameter inch trees.
Because the contractor's doing it.
Right. We will, it's part of the
Right.
The
Our-
agreement here
right,
too,
right.
the vote, that we will make sure that that happens.
Yeah. Are we talking, or do we need to talk about, the pre-finished colors of any of these?
I guess we were largely thinking that white was the best. I think if we went to a school and, if they some reason felt that white was not appropriate, that one of the other grays might make sense.
I could see a school making it multicolored.
Yeah. Unfortunately, there are not too many colors, so you can't get
Yeah.
too crazy.
I kinda like the putty,
Right, right.
I like the putty color.
Yeah, so,
Hey, we got several to vote on, you're gonna miss some back and forth.
Okay, I have made the motion and we've made clear
So
that
conditions.
plannings have to be done.
Okay, all in favor, Mason Rice. Okay, 5-0 again. Now we're at Newton North High School. Can we do both sites at Newton North High School? Yes.
I think you ought to just break them up.
Yeah, fine.
There may be zero opposition, but I think we're better off breaking them up.
Okay. Let's take up Lowell Avenue first. You wanna get that picture?
Oh, yeah.
Forward, please.
this might be on the next.
Yeah, keep scrolling down, I think it's on
Oh,
that's not the combined. Would be at the end.
yeah, no. All right, maybe it
Let me
was,
see.
it's not Amoresco though. is
Yeah,
it?
it's interesting.
Oh, it is, okay, well, that's the reason, we keep forgetting who's doing what. We need to shout out, I mean, which company is doing what. This one I'll be able to see, well, sort of from my front yard a little bit. Okay, rooftops. Newton North, Lowell Ave, okay, so this is, here, let's look at the plan. So this is a little different type of, structure build, and I'm gonna try to explain how this is situated in terms of the posts.
Yeah,
being
the
on-
columns
on-
are
columns on
at the edges instead of down the middle. It's a wider canopy than the other ones we've been
Yeah,
looking at.
actually, you see this quite a bit in a lot of other parts of the country.
Is that gonna
This
take
is
our
becoming-
worst snow load?
Yes, absolutely.
And why is it done this way?
Because this is a wide parking lot, if we wouldn't
Cars will
be,
be backing into it.
well, we wouldn't be able to put posts down the middle.
So all the other ones we've looked at, the parking is pretty much
I
nose
see,
to
yeah.
nose.
Yeah, so it's a
Parking
difference.
the
So
other
the
way.
columns are down the middle. This one, the parking arrangement is different.
So, the beauty of this one is that there will be essentially no snow and rain underneath this entire
Yeah.
section, and it will all shed off of, off of the parking lot into this area that's right here, so,
I'll
They're gonna help our storm.
Well, it's gonna
Yeah.
shed
Just
where,
gonna say that, yeah.
so it'll shed into the grass on the edge.
Right.
You're saying it's all gonna run off, none of it's gonna run down the side, it's gonna run off
That's right,
towards Lowell.
Yeah, or evaporate.
It
yeah.
begs a question, are you gonna have, gutters along that edge
Do you need them?
to take the water, well, what is it going into? It looks like a
Oh, it's a good-
sidewalk.
No, these are the same kind of panels we put up at South and at Elliott Street, where they're not sealed along the edge, there's cracks along the edge of the panel. So the rain actually,
Spaces, no.
yeah, spaces, sorry about that.
You
Spaces,
don't want cracked panels.
yes, there's, what, half-inch spaces roughly?
Yeah.
And the water just runs off along the edge of the panel, so they're not, completely sealed against rain, but, they help.
I'm sorry, I'm a little confused by that. So are you saying the water will run off the panels and go into the
Hmm.
interior?
Yes.
Oh, okay, I was wrong.
So these are not in fact gonna keep cars and pedestrians dry?
They're gonna keep them drier, I think.
Well, let's just understand what we're
Yeah,
doing here.
Yeah,
I walk through there, I get out of my car, and I happen to be right under that panel where water, there's actually gonna be more water coming down on me than otherwise.
No.
now?
Maybe just brief a little bit, but you will get,
So you're from Amoresco, could you just
Yes.
say your name, please?
yeah, Luis Alegría, Director of Engineering. Yeah, you could go to south and see, there's a gap, but the panels have a little lip, so you have some water going into, but it's not a sheet of water.
I'm just trying to understand what we're getting, that's all, so,
It drips, but you don't, it's like you're not in a,
and it drips because you're
Raised.
diffusing water from an area that's a certain,
Right.
say, 3 feet by 3 feet, and diffusing it off to the side and then going down.
Right.
Or you're saying that doesn't cause any, that's dripping? I mean, what if it's a heavy storm?
It drips faster. Basically, you can, no, I mean,
I
that,
mean, I hear that,
the
but I
water
wanna
sheds off and it
understand
just,
what
sheds
we're
off
getting
each
here.
panel.
yeah, I mean, basically, it doesn't change the runoff pattern of the area the panels are over. You get the same amount of rain dripping through in approximately the same amount of area. So it doesn't change the runoff pattern for that area.
So when you get out of your car, you may be completely shielded your head until you move a few feet, and you may get some drips on you as you move across the parking lot. I would think, right?
Yeah.
It's predictable though where the drips come, yeah, you can choose to go under them or stay away from.
Walk along.
So the other ones, you don't have that, the water is, it's not going through, it's going off and shedding off over the overhang, is that right? Or no? I'm just trying to understand.
How
what
are
you're-
yours designed, Susan's? I don't want to speak here. Same type of system.
So they're not all designed exactly the same way, but there is, in most of the designs, there is a space for the runoff. So that some of them are like a split T, so that the water would come down the center and then down again the edge. And some of them are the Y, so the water would naturally pitch towards the center and come through the middle. But there is space between the panels on our design too, so there, yeah, so there will be drips between the panels, there's always spacing, some spacing between the panels.
So in every one of these, you're not getting 100%.
Oh, no, for that,
No.
you need a gasket and a gutter system, and that's really expensive.
So we're not doing any of that?
No.
All right, so what about, if you don't mind, what about snow then?
These, I've looked at these canopies after snowstorms, and but it depends what kind of storm you have, but
Well, let's say
sometimes,
a tough New England storm.
tough New England storm, you're probably gonna get snow blowing underneath them. Have a light, straight down snowfall, you'd be surprised how clear they stay. So.
Underneath.
Underneath, yeah.
Yeah, the snow doesn't go through the spaces, it kind of holds them.
Yeah, it doesn't, the snow doesn't go through the panels.
So you'll
It
stay
would have to
drier
blow in.
in a snowstorm than
blizzard
you would in a
type
rainstorm.
situation, it would still blow under the canopy. But if you had like a regular gentle snowstorm, it would just pile up on the canopies and leave the space underneath the clear of snow.
So how tall is this one?
That one is.
This one is the, I forget if we had to go to the 20 on this one or not. I don't think we did, because this is not right next to a structure.
I think it's 12.
This is a,
You didn't need a fire access.
Yeah, we didn't need the fire access here, but I think these are in the 12 to 15 range. Yeah,
Okay.
And they could not be lower?
no, I think this is, we needed
access for fire.
snow plow. I think this was as low as we could go in this location. In each location, we met with the fire department and reviewed each spot individually with them and with Public Works as well. So they combined, working with Bill, really decided what was the right height at each of these.
The fire trucks may have to go under here to address a car fire, let's say.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Run through. So there has to be at least 12 feet clearance for the fire truck to get through.
Okay.
12 feet is the height of the garage doors at the fire station.
So, does anyone have any other questions or concerns or comments or anything that we have
there any need for screening, or does it make any sense?
I think at this site, there are bushes planted along there. I don't think you could get trees, into that edge.
It's very narrow, but those plantings that we did, in North High School, you know, you live very close to them.
I do, yeah.
They're not doing well along.
Actually, the ones right along here are doing great, and then as you get down to, the cut-in street, they're terrible.
So,
Yeah.
Mr. Yeo, the
My
picture,
311 request still have not come through from several years ago.
the picture shows that you're shading all of your, or much of your shrubbery.
Yeah, I think this sun aspect from right here is, probably a morning sun, so the morning sun here
Right.
is making that happen. I think it's gonna vary as the sun travels this way across the sky, you're gonna have sun
Right.
during other parts of
A
the day,
north-south
so.
And we're
orientation on
creating
this.
shadows, we're creating shadows on the baseball field then?
Only late afternoon, but there's a hill here, so, I don't think you would actually be creating any real, other than, this small little, couple feet right there.
What Mark
It's not
told
on
me
the field,
about
it's well into the foul.
the shrubs on Lowell Avenue, he told me that he's not sure what the effect will be, that they could gradually, die off, that's what he told me. But he's not sure, so.
What's the plan for that?
Well, I think the plan for that is we're gonna have to. Some,
Absolutely, we would have to, if that did happen. I think given, you understand this stuff more than I do, Chairman, but, as the sun goes across the sky this way, because this is north-south, they're still gonna get quite a few hours of sun per day.
Mhm.
But I guess the question is, if something,
They're gonna
if
lose morning
something,
sun.
yeah, if they're gonna lose morning sun, is that enough to cause some issues for these particular, it's one type of plant that's in there.
I think they're mostly ilex, hollies.
Yeah, I don't know
so
exactly
Mark
what
couldn't
they're.
say for sure.
We would have,
He said
we
it
would
could happen.
definitely want to, monitor these going forward, over the next several years and make new plantings if need be.
Okay, so do we want to agree to a condition along those lines?
Mhm.
That,
That's good with us, yeah.
existing plantings along Lowell Avenue, will be maintained, or in the event that they do not tolerate the shade tolerant
we can do that.
species will be substituted.
So I'm gonna go on record, right now I'm fully comfortable with some of the statements.
Okay.
I wanna see more here, and I'm disturbed that, we are clearly gonna have some issues. If you look at your own diagram with the plantings that we put in, that's not what we've been told before that we really wouldn't. And I'm also concerned, just by looking at the diagram, that we're shading a field as well, and I think that's school property, but I've got some concerns about that. So, I wanna think
I
about it.
understand, and fine, if you want to abstain, no problem.
Yep.
I don't think there's going to be any, so you've got the sun coming right from east to south, that field runs north-south. I
All-
can't see any problem there.
All I can do is look at a diagram, okay?
I know.
This is what we're being
We should
shown,
look at
this
this.
is what it
How
shows.
about plan view? Do you have that plan view? I mean, do you want to condition both sides of it in terms of plantings? Or that-
I think that'd be helpful, and I may very well vote for this in full council, but I wanna think about it more, and I wanna understand it more. Because I'm looking at that that diagram looks like it goes on to, it covers the grass area on the right, and it goes right to the curve on the left.
That looks like there's a hill there, which there isn't.
Well, then that's a problem if we're not getting
It's a,
a full,
A hill
fair
there.
representation.
that looks like a hill.
Yeah,
And if
that's
we go
not-
back to
yeah.
the other one, that's not a perfect plan drawing, this is really what it is.
Yeah.
You've got a flat field,
Yeah,
yeah.
so yeah, this
We
is
all-
the
we all
morning
know the
sun.
field.
So you look at that, okay, every one of those bushes is in shade.
At that time of day, yeah.
Well, what time of day is that?
This appears to be, a morning,
Shadows are long.
it's a morning,
Not that long.
It's from over here, so.
I mean,
Yeah.
But Mark, sorry, Councilor Borrego, there are species of plants that tolerate, partial shade, and
and do very well.
I'm aware of that, but that's not what we have there now. We've put a lot of plantings in there. We have difficulties with our plantings.
Okay,
I understand this is an important thing,
Yeah.
but
let's get the
we
condition
weren't
written.
Okay.
So that
wasn't
it's,
represented that way. It was
I
in
mean,
different-
this
We
could
will
be a
get-
win-win.
We will
have
get more
a
information
bunch of
before,
windy plantings along
before
the
the
street, and
fourth.
that's a technical term right now, okay? This could be a win-win.
Fine.
If we can incorporate a more robust planting plan along Lowell Avenue that also helps to screen the parking lot, you know, we could get that benefit out of this and get our solar too.
I'd like it to full council, if you can really articulate maybe with some drawings for the council what the shade would look like at various points of the day.
okay.
I think that would be a clear representation of what we're doing.
We have all set then?
Oh, great.
Okay, so we have a motion from, to approve from Councilor Norton as conditioned. All in favor? 3, abstentions, 1. Okay.
Right,
Where's the rest of our committee?
Walnut Street side is a little bit, simpler. Two rows in the middle of the lot, not on the edges, not on the street side, not near these trees, or right up against the school either, so. Anything on this bill that's different?
The other thing I've noticed is there are a lot more trees on Walnut Street that provide screening than what's shown
Oh, yeah.
in this rendering.
There's a tremendous.
Yeah.
So that's not really a
Isn't there a
good
berm
depiction.
there?
There's a
There's
berm with
berm.
Very
with some
wide.
fairly good
Yeah.
sized evergreens.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
is,
Yeah. There are 6 to 8 foot evergreens there.
yeah, there's actually quite a few large trees that were all put in, well, some of them were, I
When the
think,
school was,
predated.
They
Musical.
kept some of the,
I think they did.
yeah.
It's pretty well screened
Yeah,
along that
it is.
side, a lot better than this rendering shows.
I think we got a street rendering too. But anyways,
I
okay.
think we're all familiar with this part of the site. Okay, we have a motion to approve this, from Councilor Norton, all in favor, or nothing. Brown Middle School,
Okay. Now, this is back to, is this Macquarie?
Yes.
Oakville. Okay, so originally, if you remember, we had a row along the edge. We decided that does not make any sense over here. So afterwards, we moved a row up here, right in front of the school, to the parking lot that's up right out here. And then keeping 2 rows in the middle of the parking lot here. This involves cutting a tree here, and then there's room for planting of new trees at multiple locations here in the front of Brown Middle School. And there are no trees impacted over here in the parking lot. We have agreed to look at planting definitely some additional trees. There's already quite a few trees along here between the homeowners who live along the street here. And there's already a number of things, both bushes as well as larger and medium-sized trees, but we would plant some additional trees in here, correct, Bill?
Yes.
Yeah, and so we would do that as part of the project.
as I read it, the existing trees are deciduous and you're planting, evergreen understory
Yes.
type plantings.
I would provide him screening from his backyard.
Councilor Loretta?
So I just wanna make sure I fully understand the scope. So the new proposal is, leaving aside the part of the new proposal, you put a solar panel directly in front of the school.
Yes.
Correct.
And there's a row of 1 cars in parking lot.
Yes, that's right.
And so what does the picture look like? Are you shading any grass areas? What are you doing there?
Probably a little bit on the edge.
Yeah, there's a few feet on the edge here that is gonna get shaded for morning, but in the afternoons and it's gonna be getting direct sun.
Do you have another picture besides this?
That was
Keep
the
going.
old one. That was, no, let's go, don't have that
Oh,
one.
we have that.
I mean, I'll say this, from that, for me, it's very difficult to tell what you're doing here. I know the parking lot, I know you have cars there, you're covering
We had
them.
a
I
perspective.
think we do
I
have
just
one.
don't-
It's
don't see
a-
it.
Is there another deck? I think maybe this is.
Yeah, there is.
another deck.
Let's,
I
do
think
you
there
have the
is.
committee
There
report?
is one, Charlie.
I have it.
Oh, wait a minute.
I think
Wait a
it's
minute.
probably on.
But here's the committee report right here.
Oh, yeah.
I'm
that
sorry,
was-
there's just so many documents here. Okay, here's the committee report. Let's take a look through here.
I've got it on this thumb drive if you wanna use it.
Hold on.
Again, I wanna be clear, I'm not necessarily opposed to it, I wanna understand what we're voting on.
Yeah. Thought maybe it was in here, we added some. No, that's the old.
Well, we can proceed, I wanna see before we
Yeah.
vote, and I think you ought to put in the packet some material so we can
We
see.
did,
Do you
we
wanna,
did have,
do you wanna plug that thumb drive in? Yeah. Oops. Okay, it would be, in this one,
this one,
this one, I think.
next one.
Yeah. It took a little while to open, there's a lot in there.
No.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Okay, so let's see. Reserve, stay, solar, ranger, scouts. South,
Can you really read that?
I can.
There's no way I could read that.
Well, I'm closer.
No, I need the reading glasses.
I made it to 55 without glasses, but my brothers are upset about it.
I think it's a requirement to serve in the city council, you have to have reading glasses by a certain point in time.
Very good.
So, okay, here, Brown.
That's right.
But didn't we have the, oh, wait a minute. Oh, yeah,
There it is.
yeah, this one.
That's what it
So this has, this shows, much of the shading is the parking lot, but this is like the morning, shade
It looks like
here.
noon.
That
Or
looks,
noon,
that looks
yeah.
pretty heavily
Yeah, I think
shaded
you're
to
right.
me.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
gonna
that's
be,
right.
Yeah,
let's
that's
give you a
noon,
couple
so
feet,
you're gonna get
it'll be a couple
east
feet.
side morning and after that.
Yeah.
That's not.
It looks, if I'm looking at that honestly, it's equally shaded on the grass and shaded over the cars.
Yeah, that means noon.
Right, but that's a grass area that we're now shading
I think it's-
with the solar panel.
2/3, 1/3, but, yeah.
So,
Sun moves though.
I mean,
why don't you just put the same condition on it?
Yeah.
I mean, you know,
Yeah.
nobody
That's-
wants a mud patch, so.
Absolutely.
but, you know, I will say, I have a different view of this. I mean, the idea is that we're supposed to be taking parking lots and covering parking lots.
But the sun moves and creates shadows of different patterns.
Not if you don't have that, then it doesn't. Okay, if you don't have a carport, you don't create shadows.
I know, I'm
So-
obviously, but the sun moves and so the shadow moves.
This
and
is
so
supposed to
you
be
get
noon
sun.
time.
That's fine, in the morning, you know, or, let's see, how is that oriented? That's a north-south orientation, right?
Noon's when you have the
Yeah.
least shadowing, okay, and you're having, I mean,
No,
No,
it's when you have a
that's-
straight down shadow,
and
but then when the sun's at an angle, the
this
shadow moves.
this is a draft of something, it's not an actual picture of the shadow, this is what they're saying they think it looks like.
That's what it looks
It's
like.
at
It would
one
be
moment
noon.
in the
but
day.
Councilor Danbury said, and as the sun moves over this way, that grass will be all in sun for whatever.
The whole afternoon.
Mark,
The whole
I understand your
afternoon, so-
concern.
So I don't know.
I do.
I'm
None
not-
of us want
I'm
know,
not
on the
persuaded, I mean,
area.
you're,
Correct.
look, with all respect, you're showing me a drawing here, okay? This is a picture that someone's put out there, they say this is where the shadow is. I have no idea what that's gonna look like.
But we all know that shadows move. They don't stay in one place.
What I
the
can
entire
see
day.
from here is that there's a considerable portion of grass area that's gonna be in shade for a fair amount of the day. And I don't know how you draw the conclusion that that is somehow.
Okay, no, I think you're right, you're absolutely right, but in my yard, the best grass is the grass that's partly in shade.
We would be prepared to address whatever, if there were negative implications that came out of
Yeah.
the shading issue, we would want to be prepared.
And I think,
My philosophical issue here.
I
We
wanna
would
make sure
monitor,
that's
we
the
would
case.
monitor these on a regular
My
basis.
philosophical issue is, we have been told, and I think it's a very fair point, we are covering areas which are otherwise impervious surface and are parked with cars, and so it's better to use an area that's parked with cars and use it for something that's environmentally sound. And I 100% agree with that philosophy, but from what this drawing is, that's not really what we're doing here, so. I'd like to.
Well, I disagree,
That's
actually, because, I mean, it's open air, the sun moves, shadows move, and we can plant, and there are plants that you change your plantings. If that grass is a high sun tolerant grass and it's not gonna do well in the shade for half of the day, then we'll replant it. And that's the condition we applied to several of the other sites, so why don't we apply it
We
here?
weren't gonna do this part of it until we decided to move the solar panel from the other part of Brown, right?
Yes,
So this was never in the plan originally.
it was not, no.
But it's just a berm, it's like any other berm.
No, but.
and it's largely I see largely parking lot there, underneath here, that's, we're not adding parking spaces here, are we?
No.
It's roughly
It's an
half.
Already
I
parking
mean, the
space.
columns are at the edge of the parking lot, correct, Susan? So it's kind of half is over the grass, half is over
The columns are on parking lot?
They're at the very front of the parking lot.
That's not what that picture shows.
Yes, come up close, you can
Maybe
actually, it's deceptive,
So it's
actually.
old eyes.
No, it's easier to see from right here. Do you see how
Right,
the,
this is the column.
Yeah.
And this is the parking lot.
Right.
So,
see the
what's here?
columns are at the
You don't
edge
see
of the
the
parking
bottom
lot.
There's the column is right here, right?
Yeah.
These are
It
slanted.
goes down.
Right at the edge of
Parking lot
the
here.
page, yeah. They're
This
all-
here, what about this one? The car's parked, ends up here.
No, it goes further in, it's slanted.
I must say, I'm just not seeing it, but that's maybe me.
Do you have a plan drawing that's just
Pull it
flat?
to this when I pick up my son when he was sick.
Just a plan drawing that's just flat, you know?
I'm just trying,
Yeah.
I'm just trying to
Yeah,
understand.
that was the
I
other
think
There
that
should be one in here.
we're being asked to make decisions on
Yeah.
a drawing that someone's submitting, and I wanna see
So,
exactly what we're getting.
We understand that the columns are at the edge of the parking lot.
This one, this is the flat one.
Oh, that's too hard to see.
Um,
You can see that?
Can we zoom? All right, that's better.
Kind of not really,
It
that's not
doesn't- If I have that correct, the cars are where the blue is right there.
sorry.
Yep.
And then there's a whole additional area, but is that wrong? What's that?
This is the edge of the lot. There's a, see the white, there's a white stripe here.
Yeah.
And it goes up to, there's a little edge.
Is the white stripe the edge of the parked cars?
I think that's the line. I think right after this next blue line is where the edge of the lot is.
Why then is there appear to be solar array over area that's not a parking lot?
Because that's the size of the panels.
These are the panels. Here's the support right here in the
Yeah,
middle.
Yeah.
and look to the left, that there's,
It's the Y-shaped column structure. It has to have panels. Coverage,
I'm
that-
just,
that's what-
I'm just not seeing it immediately, so. I'm happy to.
No, I
wanna hold this up.
Yeah.
But you
Okay.
do wanna, I believe you would like, from your concern, to add a condition, as we have with several of the other ones, that
There's no plantings that are gonna be disturbed as a result of this?
On this one, there is,
Oh,
there's
there
a
is
trade,
one.
that
One
trade
trade.
is
Okay.
being
And they're
cut
gonna
and
move
then.
down into the other areas?
we're
And
planting.
if the grass dies,
Right, so we want two things. We want a condition that assures us that you're gonna be replanting the trees and that we want them in front of the school.
I want a little more than that, if I may.
Well, there's gonna be a second thing, and the second thing is gonna be maintenance of plantings that are tolerant, shade tolerant, or tolerant of whatever the conditions are that may change somewhat.
I wanna see a plan or a picture or something that tells me exactly where you're putting the posts
Mhm.
and exactly where the solar panels will stop, to make sure that the solar panels themselves are only over impervious surface.
I don't think that's gonna happen, Mark, because the solar panels are wider than the angle parking here.
So then what we're doing here is we're putting solar panels, at least in part, over what is now pervious surface.
Impervious.
No, pervious surface, because that's what they
Yeah.
just said.
Pervious.
Yeah, we're putting-
The grass,
Yeah, half,
Over the edge.
half the width
The edge
of
of the
that
parking lot.
canopy is
Yep.
over grass. Yes.
In most of the cases, that is not true. In this case, there is.
We're not doing that for any other site, leaving aside the library, we're not doing that at any other site. And
No.
the rationale for doing this here is because we couldn't put the solar panel elsewhere.
Well, yeah, we tried to get creative after we lost that road to see if there's another place to go.
Why didn't we just take this out?
Well, it reduces the total amount of
Yeah.
I understand that,
solar
but
production.
Yeah, I mean, I think we looked at this site and was not seen the first time through, and I think what, it looked like a parking lot, that could fit this, and it's in a nice spot right in front of the school. We think in general, it's good for students to see these, and I think there's a lot of support among students. But I think we will wanna make sure we address any negative implications that come from
So we have two conditions on this one.
The
that are
edges.
gonna be drafted.
Can I
Any edge
suggest
effects.
we-
Those are-
May I suggest we split these into two items, please? Since we have two different places.
Okay. We
We'll do A and B. if you
Brown,
don't
A
mind.
and B. All right.
Is this A or B?
Doesn't matter.
This will be A. Let's make this A.
All right.
The flagpole, it's gonna be, yeah.
Team A is,
Principal choose.
I don't recall hearing any other concerns about the canopy in front of the school. Obviously, hearing yours tonight.
Well, because I wasn't really, at least for me, not fully aware of what was being proposed.
That may be a favorite place for kids to congregate in the heat, too.
We'll see.
I don't think we want them congregating right next to the cars, but,
That's, they do
The
now
area
anyway, don't they?
residents who are concerned in this area are not concerned about the one in front of the school.
I understand that. But I don't think we've had a full, I mean, this is really the first time we've seen this. It was not part of the original
That's-
presentation.
That's absolutely a fair
And
comment,
it was,
yeah.
I mean, I don't think,
No,
when
this
you
was
presented.
in
No,
there,
no,
this
no,
isn't
no,
there on the
you saw this
16th.
the
This
other-
is,
We did, but when you presented this to residents, they didn't see this one, they saw
Yes,
the
yes,
other.
Yes.
no, this was at the public hearing.
At the public
At the
hearing,
public hearing, but not when you talk to folks.
not first round in
previously.
December, but in
Right.
January, it
But,
was.
but there's a difference. I mean, I
You made
think.
changes? Absolutely.
yeah, we made this change because of the community meetings.
Yeah, among other changes.
Okay.
I mean, we got rid of that road because of the feedback we got at the community meetings, and we tried to get creative about ways to make up for the lost kilowatt hour production. And when Corey came up with this idea, I ran it by the school department, William Hurley, he checked it out internally. He
Did the
asked
school
if,
committee vote on this one?
the school committee did not vote on this one. It's been checked out internally by staff and
I don't know how we can, the school committee has voted every other one but not this.
they have not voted this specific
Yeah, I think,
site.
I think given their approval, in short order of all the other sites, I think you can make this conditional, I'm sure they will,
I think
They
you need
will-
school committee approval.
they will
It's
definitely
sufficient.
approve.
We, yeah, we intended
They
to
gave a
follow up on
blanket
that.
approval to all the school sites.
They didn't,
They not?
they didn't see this.
I understand.
I I don't think it's blanket approval.
We can make sure that the committee would go before the committee and just make sure they understand the change that was made at.
If they approve it, that's fine,
Yeah.
but they need to know.
No, I agree with you, it didn't come before the school
Can that
committee.
be done before the next council meeting in
I don't
Week and a
know.
half.
Schedule.
They meet the same night.
They meet Monday night.
This
And
guy-
I don't know if you can put on the docket for them or not, you can probably do it tomorrow.
Let's see what I can do.
Okay.
Bill, can you remind me
Yeah.
tomorrow, let's call over to Lane. Alright. Alright, that's Brown A.
So how are we gonna handle this?
You should vote it.
Yeah, so we have conditions assigned, and, Councilor Norton wanted to move approval. You ready? Okay, all in favor? 3, all opposed, abstention, 1. And that is 15A, Brown Middle School. And 15B is the Brown parking lot. We have a motion to approve,
I'll move to approve.
okay?
Can we just, can I see that, you see that again?
Any further discussion?
I don't think this is the newest one, right? I'm in the wrong spot here.
You
No.
still have,
Here's the, no,
This was the one that had,
it's not in
complaints from the
here.
neighbors.
I just
Yes,
wanted to
and that's
understand
why
what
we
it
moved
is.
it.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
up, I think. Is that
Oh,
right?
is
This is
this
the
one?
one, the reason to hold.
Oh, it's in
road
here, I'm
Zoom.
sorry, it's right here. Yeah.
Parking lot.
Okay.
Yeah, so here's the zoom.
All right, all right.
Any,
Yeah,
either
There might be
removal or
another-
trimming of trees.
so you've taken.
I think there's some renderings of it up.
So you've taken the bottom half and that's gone,
correct.
Yeah.
so it's just the top
And we're
half.
gonna plant some trees there as well.
It's just the top half, it's the center, and the tree plantings going along either side.
The tree plantings are along the edge here where the, up against the neighbors here.
And if we still have concerns, I think we still have concerns from a number of readers on this. Is that-
Yes.
that's
I
it?
believe there.
There was some misinformation, people thought that this was going to be 15 to 20 feet. I don't know if that information got back to the neighborhood, this is one of the shorter arrays,
And what is this?
9 to 14
Yeah, I think we
or
had,
9
we
to
put
12
in,
or whatever.
one of the reports, we put in the
This was one of
these
the
actual
shortest
heights,
ones. Yes, in your Q&A, but I don't remember which page
the Q and A.
answers that question. What is number 23, what is the height of the solar? Yep, so let's see, there's 3 different heights, and this is a 9'6" minimum site, the insulation will slope up to 16 feet. So it goes from 9'6" to 16 feet.
And the screening, is that a condition as part of our proposal?
Yes. That's a condition that administration offered, but we can put it in our authorization. So for 15B condition,
Counselor Leary made a site visit there today.
evergreen underplanting. And are we painting this one too? We're gonna paint all of this, so it's none of them are gonna be bare steel?
Yeah.
Yeah, and
They're all
I wouldn't make,
some color.
okay, I wouldn't make this one white. I would
Yeah.
line this one and make it putty or,
You have the aesthetic touch here, so.
I think the neighbors should choose.
yeah, I think the neighbors should choose the color too. I think they
I'm
should.
sure they'll all agree.
Neighbors always do.
I say that tongue in cheek. You know, a dark color would disappear.
Yeah.
or-
Yeah, I think you can make a case.
You know, I do
Yeah.
think that that's, while we may have different views of what's appropriate, it wouldn't hurt to try to talk to folks
Yeah.
about that.
I think
since
that's,
they're gonna be
We could
living-
let our ward
You
counselor.
did say you could get
solve it.
other colors, so, you know, right? You said that.
Yeah, well, yes,
Standard
there's
and then other colors.
five or six different colors.
they're in here.
Couple different grays.
Oh, I thought there were additional
Grays,
colors.
browns, and white.
Only the standard
Yeah,
colors.
This is
But
standard, I
these,
believe, yeah.
these colors should be fine. one of these colors.
And Amoresco did some of the dark brown and Wayland, correct? When you do the dark brown?
So it was great.
No, we have done, yeah, to clarify, there's always paint. It's that we have shown some light gray, so it looks like bare steel, but it's not. It's gray, so it's always painted. Yeah, so it's light gray, dark gray, white, or brown, yeah. And we did last time? Yeah, we have done like light gray and dark gray, that's what they have said. Could be any of those.
Brown tree trunks.
Ward councilor duty.
So, as conditioned, do we have a motion to approve?
I'll move.
Council Danberg, all in favor? 3.
I just want to go on the record why I'm abstaining. I want to hear from the Ward 8 councilors on this one. I think this is, might be probably fine, but we don't have the Ward 8 councilors here.
That's reasonable.
And I think, I know there is some concerns from the others.
Okay. Last and best is Newton Free Library. So,
Since I'm probably the only one opposed to it, and I can talk about it, I don't think we need a lot of presentations since we've got lots
would we
of.
like to put the plan up on the board?
Let's put the plan.
We had a couple different images.
And then sure.
I just want to moderate some of this.
You wanna go back to my thumb drive?
Yeah,
I think
let's
we
go
have good
back.
images in there.
Okay, good, I wanna make sure.
It's the last one in that last group.
Oh,
No,
Oh,
Con Ave.
is the line, oh, the
Con
line,
Ave.
although, because I said that the library, which is kind of,
Um,
that's right, Ward 2, okay.
Oh, it's Ward, you think it's Ward 2?
I think it's, no, I think
It's
Com
Ward
Ave,
6.
Com Ave is the
Right, because
dividing line.
Susan's in
It's
Ward
either
2.
5 or 6.
No, it's not 5, no, because I don't, we're not answering here.
I think it is 2, because Main Street is not right now.
I actually think 2 comes up.
You should know where your
You know
ward
what?
lines
Well,
are.
we both
Thanks
have
to
a
Greg
library.
Schwartz, it's changed. Yeah.
Great.
Okay,
Anyways,
so, do you have a plan view or something that shows?
yeah, what happens, why does that street come through there? Okay, so there's two different options we'll be looking at as we look at the number of parking spaces to add. The option that has, Kelly, sit here.
I can take another one if you want that.
No, that's good.
We're at the library.
We're at the library now. This option has the 36 additional parking spaces, and this has the 1, 2, 3, has the 4 different rows of canopies. We do not have any canopies up against the very end here. And then there'll be some green space here along the edge with plantings as well. And there's still many 133 trees all around the entire edge of the parking lot, in front of the library, around the back side of the library, in front of both front sides of the library. So there's,
Would you remind me how many extra parking places we get under this?
so this is 33 additional, which would be very significant. The other option creates some walkways through at 2 different locations, and this would add about 24 parking
How many
spaces.
do you have currently?
Currently, I had it in there, let's see, 177, I believe.
Sounds about right.
So-
77? I'm sorry.
177, is that right? So, libraries are very good at keeping statistics, and so, across the Commonwealth, there's every library has to keep statistics on everything from circulation to including parking spaces. Director McNulty has made it clear, and this is true with the library board trustees too, they are extremely under have extremely few parking spaces for the size, both the size circulation and the square footage of the library. And that's why it's certainly proven out in terms of the daily, nightly, weekend traffic patterns that are seen at the library and people's inabilities to find parking
When you do
spaces.
that, you don't count any of the parking spaces at City Hall, do you?
Correct. Yeah, just at the library, and that's true with other libraries as well.
Well,
Okay. Point of clarification from Councilor Leary.
Does that, I noticed a lot of city cars or vehicles are often using the library.
So no municipal plated vehicles are allowed in there, and haven't been doing that for a number of years. And there are some, and if you read my lengthy letter on this,
Really been years,
Mr.
because I think
Yoder,
I've seen them.
Mr. Yoder, there's heavy equipment in the parking lot as we speak right now.
yeah, and there has to be sometimes,
It's been
for
there for a
plowing.
week, over a week.
Yeah, and
And it's
sometimes, yeah.
taking parking spaces.
And non-plated stuff.
It's
Yeah.
heavy equipment in the
So-
corner there that's taking up
Okay.
4, 5, 6 parking.
If I could just go into details then, on the overall parking situation, if that's all right with the committee.
Yes, please.
So, parking is incredibly challenging around this entire complex, the City Hall and the library, especially during the weekdays, the work days. And at the library, alone during the evenings and on weekends. We've done many different things to look at management options for City Hall parking. It would not come close to solving the extremely frequent lot problem we have at the library. We have, on weekends and at nighttime, when there are no, or maybe one, a vehicle of municipal that's parked in the library lot, the library parking lot is completely filled, and people are parking over here on the edge and using our nice new, easily push-buttoned crosswalks. If you haven't used those yet, they're a really nice addition to our campus here. So expansion of the library's spaces has been a top priority of the libraries, both their director and their board, for many years. Several years ago, the library made clear that municipal plated vehicles were no longer welcome. Commissioner McGonigal has joined us, and we make sure that we park all of our municipal vehicles in the lot. We'll call it the War Memorial Lot, and out here on City Hall Drive during the workday and on weekends. Sometimes we'll move cars to other locations as well. Jump in anytime, Commissioner. So,
I could just,
Yeah.
I'll just comment on the equipment that's
Yeah.
there. So Parks and Rec does allow the contractor that clears the snow for the
Yeah.
library and City Hall to park there. So that's the equipment you're seeing, so that's there.
All winter long?
For the winter season.
I think it's on occasions. It wasn't here last week.
It was,
Yeah,
I was in the
Yeah,
library. There was been equipment there for, I think, a number of days now. So is it there all winter long?
For the most part, if there's snow predicted in the next 10 days, they'll usually leave it there. So it pretty much stays there for the winter
That
season.
must be true for the lots too, because I was Brown had heavy lots.
Yes, so there are certain lots where the equipment, that we do allow the equipment
So
to
it
stay
impacts
there.
our snow budget to allow them to do that?
I'm sorry?
What's the reason for allowing them to do that? Is there
Well,
something
it's efficiency and response time. That way the equipment's there when they need to use it.
But if we have a lot that we're being told is exceptionally heavily used, it seems to me we ought not to be parking any equipment.
We could move that. It just, it comes at a cost. We can do anything without.
Well,
Put it out here, or-
regardless of whether we approve this, we're hearing that this lot is very tight, and we're taking a tight space where we have no parking, we're leaving heavy equipment there all winter. I'm sorry, that doesn't make a lot of sense to me. personally.
Yeah.
Well, there's only so many spaces in the city, but I think, could we just hear the
So-
rationale here, and then I think we can get back to the sites.
So just on overall, we are filled up here at City Hall with parking. And it's a frequent complaint of people coming to do business here at City Hall. We don't have the parking. We've tried to juggle employee parking so that we leave space for the public to come in front. I park well down Homer Street, almost all the way to Com Ave. We have people parking on Com Ave. We have people parking, especially in the summer, on Walnut Street when they can cut across the pond area there. We have department directors parked here. Occasionally, some people who are racing to get to a meeting here in the middle of the day and cannot find a spot right out here do park at the back of the library lot. Usually does middle of the day, which is actually the best time in terms of least demand. So we have an overall parking problem here in this region and in the City Hall Library Complex. We've done a couple things recently. We moved the Meals on Wheels program out of City Hall over to 150 Jackson. That got rid of several trucks that were causing a lot of challenges for us here. Jim's team is moving 7 engineering department staff over to Craft Street, so that is 7 municipal vehicles and 7 personal vehicles that will now be moving, as well as some associated business that they deal with the customers, correct? So this actually will provide a little bit of relief from us, which we need. We have installed the 2 excellent push-button activated crosswalks to make it easier for people who can walk to get from over here, City Hall Drive, over to the library and to make it easier. We've also added the Lime bikes that have been a very popular way to get to and from both the library and City Hall. If you look at the usage, these are 2 very common locations. So people are using bikes, their own bikes as well as Lime bikes to get to and from here. I'll also really want to emphasize that we're about to make some huge investments in the library in the next 10 years. We are going to replace the 30-year-old carpeting and furniture that's in the library. That will be happening over the next few months. We'll be expanding the children's library, the children's room. The design is underway. We'll be doing that over the next 2 years. We will really be we'll be going to be moving around several other sections and reorganizing the library to meet today's needs and making it fully functional. The problem is that the parking lot doesn't really match up with the activation of the library. So we do feel, and the library feels, that we do need additional parking spaces in the lot. So what made sense 2 years ago and still makes sense today is to do both of these projects at the same time, is to increase the parking as well as to have the solar panels.
You know, I'd just like to say a couple things if I could. So, first of all, I think the administration's rationale or thinking process around the parking needs of this entire complex would be, that was a great summary for me, and it would be good to have a one-page or some, a really succinct summary that goes along with. Great.
I found out when I arrived here I was in charge of parking, which I didn't realize was part of the job description.
Right. How does this mesh with, I think people are, I don't want to use the word confused, but conflate the fact that we were trying to reduce parking in complexes with, or parking at sites with, the need of an area. This is really a shared parking plan that you're trying to.
Yeah, and there are some locations like a library that is not near a village center where people are going to drive. The elderly who use the library in large numbers, the families that bring their kids here, there are some instances where we definitely need more parking spaces, and this library, the #1 library in the Commonwealth, is one such place.
So the other thing I want to make sure everybody understands, I'm sure you do, but just for the record, is that there's 2 projects here. One is the library parking lot for the sake of the library and the City Hall complex, and which is integrating a drainage system that is going to work.
as of now. There's certain storm conditions we can't manage, the drainage, and that's a project, and that's got a $500,000 price tag, let's say, I'm just making that up. And that is not being paid for by the solar,
Correct.
project. But you're taking this opportunity to integrate the two. The drainage is certainly something that can be integrated with a solar canopy system. But, the point I wanna make, understanding they're two separate projects, is that the reconfiguration of the parking lot, even though you're not changing the overall size of it, it's still being reconfigured, and so it comes back to this committee, for appropriations, and for, approval. This is like a mini 558 process, okay? So I just wanna make sure everybody knows that, so there's another, you don't need to know all the particular details, we understand the concepts of the layouts of the parking lots that are being considered. And the final thing I wanna say is I actually would like you to weigh in on this if you can. The Board of Trustees, as I understand it, they haven't approved the final plan because we don't have one. They have approved, their interest, or they've expressed their interest in the solar project.
That's right.
And it's, of course, just as ours is, conditional upon approval of the final plan. Because this all
Yeah.
has to be engineered.
Correct.
It has to be priced on the city side. And so there's a number of steps to take.
They wanted things, tree planting, design of the lot, how the spaces were gonna be configured, where the handicap spaces would go, the lighting, what the lighting would be compared to right today, construction management, timing, and an assessment of the impact on the library in terms of the economic viability of the library.
There's all kinds of things we would want to know as part of the 558 or site plan. Okay, so I think I saw Councilor Danberg and then Laredo.
Okay, and two questions. First of all, on this plan, the one that we have in front of us, or the one without the walkways, has the Board of Trustees of the library expressed a preference as to this or that?
The director has. And
And that preference would be,
without the walkways.
okay.
He feels that this is a safer approach, and I will.
He wants more parking space.
Well, he wants more parking, but I think there was a concern that the walkways were going to provide a false sense of security in the middle of the lot. I mean, it's a parking lot.
I would agree with that.
And that, I don't know, Commissioner, if you want to weigh in on this, but I think there's a number of our transportation planning people actually prefer, I'm not an expert in this, so I didn't know which way would make sense from a pedestrian standpoint, but that they feel that the other one is preferable.
Okay.
We're gonna continue to, we would continue to review both options.
That
If you
answers
go-
my question.
Yeah.
My next question is, I can see on the bottom that there look like rows of tombstones, gravestones.
Yes.
Quite close to where the parking is. So that would mean that we could not move that down any farther and get any more parking on the bottom, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, what about on the side? That building over there,
Yeah.
is that something that's owned by
Yep.
Eversource?
Yep.
Where's our lot line, and could we get a
So
double,
the lot
could we get a
line,
double row there?
well, we would have to take all of those nice large trees down in order to do that, which I don't think any of us would want to do. And it's
Yeah.
also shielding the library from that, I mean, it's not a terrible looking building, but it's got some things behind it that,
Yeah.
you don't really
Okay.
want to be
All right.
looking at,
Just-
so.
Just a question.
We have, I will say though that over the years, there have been discussions with Eversource about potentially
Would they ever sell it?
using some areas of their space, maybe for a limited number of spots. And so, because we're in such a parking crunch here that we're gonna look for parking spots. wherever we
Is
can.
that building in active use?
It is active. I've seen whole crews of people coming and going during storms.
And does it have to be there as opposed to being able to be somewhere else if we were to strike a deal with Eversource? and wanna buy that property?
It's a pretty significant investment on their part.
Yeah, I believe there's power distribution out of there, so it would be a major undertaking.
Okay,
Yeah,
all right,
I think that's right.
just questions that I thought needed to be asked
Yeah.
at this point. Thank you.
Okay, all set?
Yes.
Council Laredo,
So
and then
I-
Cleary, and then Martin.
No secret, I've got a lot of concerns about this, and I'm not in favor of exploring the record up front. But I wanna make sure, and I'll explain what my concerns are, but I also have some questions that will be informative. It seems to me we're conflating three different things here. We have a flooding, perceived flooding problem at the library. I don't know how much it's been alleviated by some of the work we've done more recently in dredging and so forth, but it's been a problem for a number of years. Regardless of what we do with these solar panels and parking lots in future extent. The second is a perceived statement by the administration that we have a parking crisis now at City Hall and the library, and we must address that. And third, we're gonna address that and because we're gonna put solar panels in, and we're gonna do it all at once. And that's how this is being presented. So, leaving aside the drainage, which is a technical issue that I have zero confidence in, and certainly think we ought to address, I wanna understand the parking rationale much better. So, is the library over the past 10 or 15 years, seeing vast increases in the number of users? Number one. Number two is, are there more employees at City Hall than we've had over the last 10 or 15 years? And if so, how many more? Three, what transportation demand management plans is the city putting in place? We demand that of every single developer who comes in now for land use. So what do we have? And I understand we're not a transit-oriented City Hall, but we have other non-transit-oriented projects, and I would think that we ought to be practicing what we preach. So I really want to know and understand that, and I think it's an important discussion for us to have, because frankly, regardless of whether we put carports here or not, the idea that we're expanding a parking lot at City Hall when everywhere
This
else.
is at the library, for library users, not for city hall.
We have a parking lot next to the library at City Hall. If you look at the front of City Hall, that is available parking for the library on a weekend.
For some people who are able to walk there.
If we're concerned about mobility for somebody walking 100 yards to the library, we have a big problem, okay? I mean,
My parents couldn't walk.
I would make sure someone who has mobility issues is absolutely guaranteed a space at the library parking lot as close as possible. We can address that 100 different ways. Okay, we could put more.
Then the rest of the families and others would have to move a lot
If I have
further
a
away.
5-year-old kid,
Council Laredo, could we
get
back to the,
well, my point is, I just do not take as a given that the parking in front of City Hall cannot be appropriately used for the library. I just don't see it as that significant a distance for anybody to walk.
And a lot of people right now do use.
They do use
They
it.
do,
use
but
it. They use the department directors' lots on the weekends, they use
As they should.
this whole end, they do. And
As they
even
should.
then, the library is filled and people can't get in.
so
They
I think
drive
the
in one
point
side
that
and
was
leave the
being
other.
made, Council Laredo, is that the overflow users from the libraries do impact the parking in the City Hall complex.
Absolutely.
Not the other way
On a
around.
weekend, they absolutely do, and on a
Okay.
weekend, there should be fewer, if any, city cars in it.
So your point is
Yeah.
I think you're saying, similar.
My sense is where is the sudden explosion of people who are now unable to park at the parking lot?
It's
Or-
been there for many years. This has been a priority and a problem of this library for many years.
And I guess I would say that I have zero problem with people walking from the front of City Hall or the parking area that's reserved otherwise on the weekends for, key administrators and walking across the street to the parking lot. I just don't see that as a major issue.
Right, but right now, people can on weekends and at nights, the library parking lot is filled. Okay, people can't park. There are people parking here at the end of City Hall Drive,
Yep.
and there are people parking even in the department director's parking lot. So we are missing parking, we are short parking at the library. So,
So,
I guess
you know what?
we
That's-
disagree,
Please.
okay?
yeah.
So, I'll just go on to the third point. My sense of this library parking lot, if you look at the historic materials, when this was built, and the idea of the parking lot, this is not, was never intended to be a wide open typical parking lot. This parking lot was designed to be integrated with the greater area in front of City Hall and all that. And the administration now is proposing something that, in my view, is radically different from that vision.
And I think our thinking is that in 1989, that we really had only just begun to think about climate change. And things are very vastly different. And I think also there are many families and children who are very interested in the future of and having the city participate in dealing with climate change.
And I'll respond, but I've sat here and voted for virtually every one of these plans, because I certainly agree that we need to address climate change. But that doesn't mean that every single site that you propose is a good one. Okay, so I'm just gonna go on record with that, and, that's it.
Okay, I think, Councilor Lee,
Yeah,
and
I did.
then Norton.
I was initially responding to, the pedestrian walkway question that came up. And, I know that we have had special permits where we have required them, and I'm thinking of Chestnut Hill Square, where they have some pretty good pedestrian. When they're done well, I think they are safe and effective, and it's better than having the library. I'm thinking we have a lot of small children coming and going. So I understand that you wanna maximize the amount of parking there. But I'm just saying, I'm surprised the planning department would say that they don't work, or they wouldn't recommend it in this instance, when clearly they do when they're done well. So that was just my point about that, whether.
So we haven't not made a decision yet, either way. So we will be coming back, we'll be doing more research on this and coming
Okay.
back. So.
And I actually, Mark's point about the parking, Councilor Rader's point about the parking actually that was something I was thinking about, because I'm thinking, well, we're trying to, minimize the amount of extra parking we're creating, we want to get people out of their cars, we're minimizing.
In general, absolutely.
And then I remember what it was like when I had two little kids and I was going to the library, and the fact that we've centralized all our libraries now, and there are people that they can't get to the library any other way except a car, especially if they have small children or they're aged or whatever. So after saying that, I will say, once in a while, I haven't been able to get parking in the library, but I always can get parking in another spot, very close nearby, Walnut Street maybe is the furthest I have to go. So again, people need to be willing to sometimes walk a little bit and not be able to get front door service. And then my other comment about that is, I have seen, you could include signage that might say something like, you can park at the City Hall lot on weekends, or I remember years ago, I did see supermarkets have signage for people with small children, had preferential parking, and I haven't seen it recently, so I'm wondering if that just didn't work out or if people ignored it. But that might be something you could consider for the library, have preferential parking for people with small children, as well as the, disabled people who are physically disabled.
So again, I wanna just say for the record, if this passes, the full council has a solar project.
We'll be able to get into the weeds on this?
Yes, we'll get into the weeds
So
on
let's move on.
Yeah, I think
Well-
what we do wanna do for this, meeting is since a couple of you came back into the room, what we've been doing is going site by site, and in some sites, we are imposing conditions, and some of the conditions are things that the administration has actually proposed, but we're making them conditions of our authorization, for example, landscaping, and where the trees get planted, and that sort of thing. So, we need to move this eventually to the vote of yea or nay, as our recommendation to the full council.
That we can, any discussion on flooding or drainage, we can pick up at another time. But,
Yes, but we can't, I believe that, since the proposal is to integrate the canopy plan with the drainage plan, I'm certain that we will be able to write a condition that says that, we are in fact interested in, assuming the solar canopy plan passes, that we would be interested in integrating the drainage system with the
comes with, can come with conditions.
Yes, I think we've already talked about the condition of the solar canopies actually having that sort of space that might match the architecture of the library, which I think is a very good idea. So I voted for this 2 years ago, and I am aware of the sort of historic nature of this area. Again, I read the letter, the email that we received from one of the prior directors of the library, talking about the parking lot and how it integrates into the area. But again, I agree with Mr. Yall when he says, back in 1990, we weren't thinking so much about the impacts of climate change, and now it seems like they're upon us, and we can't backtrack fast enough. No matter what we do, we're going to be severely impacted by climate change impacts. But I think for me, it behooves us to do everything we can that's practically possible. So with the conditions that we partially already talked about, I intend to vote for this project.
May I ask a procedural question?
Sure.
If we don't approve the site plan 558, do you still intend to go forward with solar panels? If we don't approve the reconfiguration of the parking lot, do you still intend to go
Good
forward
question.
with solar panels?
I have to think about that. We have to talk about that.
I would say probably not, but we can talk about it.
Okay.
Just want to know what the plan is.
Councilor Norton? Are we talking about the 24 versus 36 spaces tonight?
No.
So that was just some riffing.
This is the library.
I have thoughts on that, but I won't share those now, not the time.
For our
Riffing is,
general
not a term we use in the
education,
council.
we are now aware that the administration is considering two different plans. They absolutely want the library board of trustees approval, before they would bring it to us, for a 558 review or amendment to the.
There are pros and cons. I think what we would do is we would bring the traffic experts and the design team to a meeting and discuss it at that.
So can I just, Matt, I'm sorry.
So that's gonna be discussed at another time.
It will be discussed at
So
another
I will
time.
not share my thoughts and wisdom on that. Well,
I don't know,
Councilor
I have no
Martin, you
idea
can
what it
tell
is
us
you want to say.
so to your point about a lot of people who come here have small children, a lot of people are elderly, I think it makes a lot more sense to get more spaces if we have the opportunity. With fewer spaces, we may not be forcing people onto the walkways, we may be forcing people much farther away, which is a lot harder if you are elderly, have mobility issues, have small children, et cetera, et cetera. So I would strongly encourage us to take advantage of an opportunity to provide more parking. And with that, I would love to move it when we're ready.
May I ask a question then?
Yes.
So, I want to be clear. If we vote this and the administration decide, we don't vote the 558 plan, we're giving the administration discretion to proceed with solar canopies regardless?
We were gonna do solar canopies 2 years ago, but
I'm just asking what we're
I'm
doing,
just
so we're
observing
all
that that's-
clear on what the recommendation is.
to be clear, you're asking, we could do the solar could be disconnected from the parking improvements.
The administration is saying they would do that.
Okay.
I think what we would have to do is look at like exactly where the, how the canopies are situated on the site if we were not going to do it that way.
I would suggest that if they want it, the administration wants to do that, they should have to come back to us for this, rather than just unilaterally we give them approval, because it's a radically different plan at that point.
Which is it's a radically different plan if we.
If you do not
Building
reconfigure the
solar
parking, if
canopies.
you do not reconfigure the parking lot, then you're gonna put solar canopies in, because we have,
I suppose that's reasonable. I just want to make a comment. I think it would be, to me, it would be extremely unfortunate if we did not take this opportunity to rebuild the parking lot, correct the drainage and so forth.
we have
When
no
we do this.
idea what that,
However,
we have no plans yet, we have no
we have a rough
estimate.
estimate of what it's going to cost, and we're going to go through a 558 process. So, we're going to learn something from that process, just like we do when we start a
And
solar.
I'll to suggest that we do have a 558 process for a reason, but I think it would be highly inappropriate for us to approve solar panels here, regardless of whether we approve the 558 plan for this site or not, because then this council will be voting on something that they've seen zero design for.
So,
I think what we could do, Bill, correct me if I'm wrong, but before the full council meeting, we could at least tell you whether we would be continuing and how that might change the basics of the outlook.
If it's
of
a
the
moot,
panels.
if the administration
Yeah.
commits to not
So,
moving forward without a 558 plan, it's moot. If
Yeah.
the administration says it wants to do that, I think the council at least needs to know what it's voting on.
in other words, you would want to consider approving this, although you're voting against it in any case, but having a condition be, according to the concept plans, one or the other of the concept plans that we've been presented with, and I think we already agreed to a condition about integrating the
I don't
stormwater
think it'd be,
management.
I don't think it'd be fair, I want to be fair to the council, if we get a 558 plan, we make modifications to it, we all know what we're getting now. But I think the idea of a conceptual plan, I think is important, because otherwise, the council will be voting on something that,
So we can
Literally
make a
see it.
general condition that it would be our intent to approve solar canopies, in concert with repairing, the parking lot, with integrating the stormwater management system, and with, reconfiguring the parking lot to add, efficiency
Well, I
and
think
our
we-
additional
So
parking.
these are the conditions that the board of trustees
Yeah.
approve. I mean, I think
Yeah.
we want to comply with those
Absolutely.
conditions.
So are they
I
different
have a
from what I
copy
just
of the
said?
resolution.
no, they're similar, they're in my write-up for this meeting.
Right.
So, yeah.
Which we reviewed
That's
earlier.
not the new
It's this
one,
week's
Mark.
packet. It's exactly
Is it
what-
in this week's packet?
Yeah,
This is the resolution that
Yeah,
was
it's,
emailed to me by
I have it,
Bill McNaught.
I have it right
it's
here.
in here.
That's right.
We did, the original proposal for this site for phase 3 was under the existing conditions.
Yeah.
When we reviewed that internally, I think, Jonathan, I think, Jim, Josh felt like it didn't make a lot of sense to build on the existing site, that it was a good opportunity to address all the issues there. The parking issue, the flooding issue, and redesign the solar footprint so that it fit with this type of parking lot layout. So we actually have a proposal with the existing conditions. I think the question is whether if we build that proposal that way, whether you ever have the opportunity to move to something like this later on. So I think that's what we gotta look at, is do we lock ourselves out of this kind of plan for the future if there are people who still think it's important? We'd have to look at it.
All I'm saying is there could be an array of reasons why we don't approve the 558 plan, because we don't have one yet. We
Right.
don't know what it's going to
Understood.
be.
Okay,
That's all.
point taken, point taken. And so I think we have a set of conditions that will align ourselves certainly with the board of trustees if they're similar. So would you like to, can you pass that over?
Can I just, I think, Madam Chair, I'd be a little bit more specific in the board of trustees.
I haven't looked at it.
Language, we don't have to craft it this evening, but I think if it's clear that we want to be conceptually consistent with what
Yeah.
has been set forth, at least we know what we're getting. It doesn't preclude you from coming back
Mhm.
and asking for it again.
Okay. Are you passing that around the table or should somebody read it out loud?
Chair, yeah.
Okay.
It's what Jonathan summarized.
Yeah,
It's the actual resolution that was sent over by the board of trustees.
Okay. So there's 5 conditions. Specific tree planting and landscaping plans, design plans for the parking lot that add spaces and generally improve the operation, considering the library's high uses, et cetera. Design of the canopies themselves, including aesthetics, night lighting, rain, snow management, construction management plans and timing, and economic assessment of the impact on the library. I don't think everyone was here when we read that to us earlier, so,
You can keep that.
okay, I'd love to give it to the clerk then, to Nadia. So I think it's a little bit more specific, language perhaps about the stormwater management system integrated, you know, that we're interested in the whole package. The only thing we didn't discuss here, which we discussed at length on other sites, is the tree planting plan. So I assume we'll put a condition, even though you've offered a tree planting plan, we'll put a condition in to verify that intention
Right.
as well.
Significant number of trees, some on site, some right where Mark can find right in the immediate area. There are, because there actually are so many trees on the library grounds, 133 other trees, plus a lot of bushes that are in very good shape. So I think he has some sites that he can find on library property, but the area still around here, shade trees and other areas we certainly have needs for additional sites.
In the general City Hall complex.
Yeah, around.
Okay, so.
Yeah, we need to be careful right here on City Hall grounds where, you know, we have the landscape that was the design. I think for historic reasons, I'm not sure if we can just start going and planting new forests in the middle. I will turn to you, and I'm not sure if that will go over too well, but but we will work carefully to figure out where additional trees in this immediate area.
And along with the reconfiguration of the parking lot, we'll see a tree planting plan. Okay. I do think, and I don't know the history of it, but we've certainly been reading a lot of papers from various sources about the library history and land takings and all that. And the original Olmsted plan was not nearly as lush as what we have
It was
today.
barren.
In fact, it was quite barren. In
Yeah.
fact, there were no trees around the building. It was all about featuring the building as a gem on a knoll and having the plantings all around. Very interesting, was his style of
Yeah.
landscaping.
And I will also say, just from a water quality standpoint, it had a very old-fashioned mentality about how to feature areas around ponds. So there really was not the plantings that really you should have around ponds to protect water
It
quality.
was
So
about creating vistas.
unfortunately, then the city went completely in the other direction, and now, you know, vines then started to take over these areas. So we've tried to now keep the two in balance, so we're not completely overrun with invasives. But we do have some plantings around City Hall ponds.
Partly, so there's a lot of, I'll send this stuff to the committee. It's a very interesting history here, and
Where's that
starts
from?
out- I'll send it to you, it's been assembled by the clerk's office, documents that talk about the history of the library, and Helen Hine wrote the first, many of you remember Helen Hine.
It's not an easy project.
No, it was not a very contentious project for a lot of reasons, but there's a drawing in here, you can see this, but triangular thing in the middle is, this is City Hall and the pond. And these were the lands that the Board of Aldermen at the time and others and the Conservation Commission advocated that the city take all of this land across Walnut Street too, where there's now quite a few more homes. Or take Sean's house.
Yeah.
Needs across the city, and it's very interesting to read just even this paragraph, but I will send this to you, because there were needs across the city that were not being satisfied.
You could still do it.
And they thought it was, you know, forward thinking to say, you know, get this land now, get this land now, for municipal buildings, not, and it says here, these were not for parks, these are for municipal buildings.
Like a senior center.
It actually didn't have the forethought for seniors, it was 1950.
Yeah, you got a lot younger than.
There were no seniors. Oh dear.
All
right.
I must be late.
Don't forget a guy, when you get past 100 votes.
So I believe that we have established the conditions, and we'll go over the actual, writing of them. I think the law department should be consulted, I understand the clerk's office drafts these, and so conditioned. Do I have a motion to approve? Councilor Norton, moves to approve the solar panels, to authorize, the city to enter into lease agreements at the library. All in favor? 5 in favor. One opposed. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I really want to
Thank you for
say,
the questions.
the administration has done a tremendous amount of work on this. You've been very hardworking and responsive to a lot of requests for
Thanks to
information.
all of our team for coming in and
Yes.
being here tonight,
Thank
so.
you.
Thank you for all your time.
Ann and Bill, thank you.
Thank you very much.
We have one tiny item left. There's a new,